Right, so welcome everybody to our next and final for now webinar. This one's on the subject of the power of attunement. So I'm here again with Ben Skerritt, and I think many of you probably know us by now, but just very quickly to introduce ourselves. I'm an interspecies communicator and I teach interspecies communication as well. I'm also a counsellor and a Reiki therapist and do a few other things as well, all of which basically involve energy. And that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about today when we get into talking about the power of attunement. So I've been teaching and practicing for, oh gosh, about 15 years now. And Ben and I have been collaborating for the last couple of years. And so we're running workshops together in Australia. We did a 3-day weekend last year. We've got another one coming up at the beginning of November. And then we've got a week-long retreat happening at the end of June, which will be 5 days, like immersed into this beautiful property in a place called the Promised Land, which just sounds amazing in itself. Yeah, surrounded by nature, with horses and, birds and reptiles and all sorts of beings there. And we'll be, camping out, being on the land. So it'll be a really lovely immersive experience. So yeah, I won't go too much more into anything about me for now, but I'm going to pass over to Ben so you can just say a little bit about your background, Ben.
Thanks, Jacqueline. So my name's Ben. I am an equine therapy practitioner. I've been practicing equine therapy for the last probably 12 years and probably doing it for another 5 years before that, unbeknownst to myself. And I always had a deep passion for personal development and meditation and spiritual growth and learning. And so I've always done I had a lot of mentors over the years that have taught me a lot of powerful things about myself that I wasn't really at the time aware of. And so a lot of the teachings that they passed on to me, I've now used in my equine therapy practice in doing workshops and retreats and one-on-one sessions with people. I also do life coaching and run 6-week online courses. And the center point of my work is authenticity and our connection to our higher self and healing and the things that get in the way. So that's what I like to sort of focus on. And I have a background, obviously, as a professional horse trainer and a horse psychology, which I did that for about 17 years. So that was my background and my entry point into this work. And I'm very grateful to be flipping it around today and now focusing on how animals can help me learn about myself instead of thinking that I have to train animals. Because my biggest message has been, always been that the animals have helped me learn more about myself than I think I've ever taught them. So powerful teachers. So thank you, Jacqueline.
Yeah, it's lovely when you say that, about changing the animals versus changing ourselves. And of course, the funny thing is when we change ourselves, the animals change anyway, don't they? Because they're around our energy and they're experiencing all the things we're experiencing, and that's affecting them too. And especially the horses, which is who we're going to be working with. And that's where they make such great teachers, because they are so sensitive to how we are. Well, it's just really lovely when I enjoy blending my work and Ben's work together, because Ben teaches us using the horses and with the kind of support of the horses, what's going on in our own inner landscape. And then when we can manage that and be more aware and in control of that, if you like, then that puts us in a better state of mind and a better way of being, that we can then communicate with them and listen to them. So our work, I feel our work blends really beautifully in that way.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. Welcome, Aisling. Nice to see you. So the power of attunement is the subject we're going to get into for this webinar. So attunement can have different, there can be different ways of understanding that word attunement, but for me, essentially, it's about tuning into like a deeper part of ourselves, kind of our higher self, you might say, or a wiser, deeper part that knows things, if you like. my experience of that part of ourselves is it's connected to all of life and connected to the truth of life. And through that access point, we can connect more clearly with the experience of the life around us and the life force around us, whether that's expressed through an animal or through a tree or whatever. And the first time I came across the word attunement actually was when I was living in Findhorn, a spiritual community in the north of Scotland. And we would use this form of attunement every day. So it was really a daily practice. We would come together every time we came together, whether it was for a meeting, whether it was as housemates, whether it was for a celebration. We would begin with something called an attunement. And we would just take time to, just 30 seconds even, or a minute, we would just close our eyes, take a moment. Someone might say a few words just to bring ourselves, our awareness to what we were about to do, to the people we were with, to the activity we were about to engage with, and sort of stepping consciously, if you like, into that moment, leaving behind what we've been doing up until then. And it had a profound difference to the way things then flowed, to the way the meeting flowed, to the way the social event flowed, to the way the activity flowed. And one of the examples I like to give of this is I was working on it was a 50th anniversary of Findhorn, their birthday anniversary. One of the things we were offering was a silent auction. And my friend and myself and two other people were setting up all the items for the silent auction. The silent auction is where they're displayed on a table. There's a piece of paper in front, and you write your bid on the piece of paper, and then the person who puts in the highest bid is the person that wins the item. So we were setting up all these items, and I put something down and I go over somewhere else and I come back and someone had moved it, and so I put it back again, and then I go somewhere else and they've moved that thing, and we were just like constantly, everyone was rearranging things and then putting them back again, and then at some point one of the three of us said, "Stop, we haven't attuned." And we were like, "Oh, okay." So then we took this moment to connect together with each other, with the activity. And then after that, everything just flowed beautifully. We stopped like pushing and pulling against each other, and it all just flowed really seamlessly. And it was really quick to set it up. So it just kind of illustrated to me how important it is when we do take that moment to stop and tune in and consciously connect, get on the same wavelength. We use that term wavelength quite a lot. And it's an energetic vibration or shift that happens in my experience. So that's one of the examples of what attunement is, but we can also use it, when it comes to communicating with our animal friends or with the life around us. And again, it's getting on the same wavelength as them and bringing ourselves consciously into that same vibration, into that connection space. And it's like, how do we do that? Well, Ben's got a really lovely exercise he's going to take us through, and I think I'm sure you've got something you'd like to say about that, Ben, by way of introduction. So I'm going to pass over to you, and you can tell us a bit more about how this works and then take us through the activity.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's a great example of attunement and how, so often in life we can be, on different wavelengths. We're not sort of present or here and now, if you want to call it that, where our mind is constantly projecting into the future or into the past, and we're stuck in this, in the monkey mind, if you want to call it that, which really is, if you look at that from a perspective of brainwaves, that's low range to high range beta being, when we're in complete stress mode, and mid range beta being when we're in low grade anxiety and just generally moderately stressed, and low range beta being the general state of awareness that we're in when we are just going about our day-to-day activities. So the importance of being able to make a daily practice of connecting and going into those deeper brainwaves of alpha and theta, where we're very heart-centered, gratitude, love, and that really connects us to our higher self, and essentially just becoming fully present in our body is a really important and powerful thing to do. And so today what I'd like to do is to give you a meditation, a higher self meditation, which is centered around being able to connect to our higher self. And there's lots of different forms of meditation, and I see meditation and any way that we connect to that higher part of ourself as just a doorway into our higher self, and how we get through, like there's many different ways to access that. There's many different doorways to the higher self. But it's important that we establish some ways that work for us, whether it be through meditation or connecting in nature, whether it be going for a walk on the beach, whether it be just like Jacqueline talks about, a sit spot. There's many different ways that we can connect. Just becoming aware of the breath, just giving someone your full attention. Everything can be an act of meditation. It can be a place where we can, we can practice our being fully present and noticing when we're not present and bringing ourselves back into that present moment awareness and becoming conscious and embodied. But the way what I'm going to share with you tonight is just a fairly simple higher self meditation. And the goal of the meditation is to connect to our higher self, but also to get a message from our higher self, to tune in to that part of ourselves energetically and ask it for a message, so that we can use that as maybe a guiding principle for that particular day or for that particular time that we ask for a message, which I found to be very powerful too. When we connect and we actually listen to that higher part of ourselves, it's amazing what it has to say. But we have to be receptive in order for that to happen. So we've got to bring ourselves into that state of receptivity, which is where that connection to ourself is so important. So what I want you to do is, I want you to close your eyes if you can. And I want you to become aware of your breath. And I want you to try and take some deep breaths in through your nose, all the way down. You're going to breathe all the way down into your belly and lower abdominal area. And just feel your belly filling up. And you're trying to lengthen the breath as you do it. So you're going to breathe in, try and do a count of 3 or 4. And then as you breathe, I want you to try and lengthen that amount of time gradually. And as you're breathing in through the nose into the belly, I just want you to follow that breath. Follow it gently as it goes all the way through your nose. And just notice the flow of that energy of that breath going all the way down into your belly and then all the way back up as you breathe out. And just feeling the flow of that breath as it goes down your spine, into your belly, and then back up your spine, neck, and the way back out through your nose. And just become very present with the breath. Just allow it to go in and out, and deepening that breath. And as your breath deepens, I want you to become more conscious of the flow of energy with that breath, the flow of that energy from, as it goes in, that flow of energy all the way down your spine, and then all the way back up your spine as you breathe out. Almost as though you are bouncing energy from your sacrum area all the way back up to the top of your head, and then out the top of your head, and then all the way back in through the top of the head, and all the way back down to your sacrum. And just allow yourself to become more deeply aware of the space around your spine as the energy flows up and down your spine. Become more aware and deeply aware of the energy around the base of your throat and throat chakra, energy center, the base of your throat. And just become aware as that breath goes through that center. Feel the energy in that center expanding. Feel the spaciousness, the space around that center and the base of your throat. And then draw your awareness from your throat down into your heart center. And again, become aware of the breath as it flows through your heart center. Just notice how that breath allows your energy field to expand around your heart center. And just notice the space around your heart center, around your body, around your heart and body. And just allow your heart to open. As you're breathing deeply, I want you to think of how grateful you are for your heart. Having a heart that beats all on its own. You don't have to do anything to beat your heart, it does it for you. It works tirelessly to keep you alive, to give you vitality and strength. Feel the gratitude for your heart and all that it does for you. And thank your heart. Feel the connection to your heart. And then take a moment to become aware of the things you're deeply grateful for in life, the things that connect you to your higher self. What are those energetic anchors that bring you into that state of connectedness and love and gratitude? What are those things? Is it your animals? Is it a special place? Is it a song? Is it an experience in your past of where you felt deeply grateful to be alive? So allow yourself to go to that moment of deep connectedness and let that permeate your heart center and whole body. And again, as that permeates your heart center and body, allow it to expand outwards. Again, further deepening that connection to your higher self, your divinity. Gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership and love. And in that state of deep connectedness, I want you to connect to your higher self in whatever way feels right for you. Maybe your higher self is going to meet you in a certain place. You can visualize that place. What does it look like? Where are you? What do you notice about this place? Maybe it's just a feeling of knowing that your higher self is right there with you and that you can feel the deep connection to that part of yourself. And when you feel that deep connection to your higher self, I want you to ask your higher self, what message do you have for me right here and now? What meaningful message that is most important for me to acknowledge in my life at this point in time? What message do you have for me? And just open yourself to that message, to that knowingness and that instantaneous communication of your higher self. And allow yourself to download that message and trust whatever message comes through. Trust it. And allow yourselves to be fully open to receiving that message in a very embodied and profound way. And if you feel the need to let the tears flow, if there's gratitude, allow that to happen, hold space for that. And when you've got the message, I want you to thank your higher self. I want you to share your love and appreciation for your higher self and thank it for sharing this beautiful message. And acknowledge that from this day onwards, you're going to be more open to this connection to your higher self going forward, and what and the wisdom and love it may have to offer you in your life. Thank it for everything that it's given to you. And then very gently and very slowly, I want you to start bringing yourself back into the here and now and back into gently in your own time, open your eyes and come back. And just take a moment once you're back to be fully here. Sometimes these journeys can take you into a very deep place, and it can take a little while to reset and come back to this reality. And would anyone be open to sharing the message that they got from their higher self or any part of their experience? Love to hear what came through for you, if you're open to sharing. So my message that I got was, when I connected to my higher self, was, I am you, which was very profound. Anyone else like to share a message or a little bit about their experience?
Mine was like relax, and I could just feel it opening in my gut, and yeah, relax and be open, and it will be okay.
Wow.
Mm.
Beautiful. Thank you, Anne. Appreciate that. Often the message from our higher self is very simple but very powerful. So always relevant. Joy, did you have a message you'd like to share?
Yeah, I went to a like a sacred grove type place.
Wow.
So surrounded by trees. And the message, it was one of those that didn't come in words. It was just a knowing that you get with animals sometimes. And it was just keep on. It's like, what you're doing, keep on.
Beautiful. That's amazing. And if you were to go to your body now, like, how does that message feel in your body when it lands?
A relief.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. Anyone else like to share their message? It's optional, you don't have to.
Yeah, Ashley. Yeah, you need to unmute yourself. You able to do that? Let me do this. Does that help?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
My message was basically that might sound a bit strange to other people, but it says you are surrounded and you are loved. And my interpretation of that was in terms of guides being around me, which
Wow.
just different things that are happening for me at the moment. But that's what I felt, that very much. Yeah, you are surrounded and you're loved and you're held. So that was quite lovely for me.
Beautiful. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Has that got relevance for you in the current situation and in your life? Is that?
I think it has, yes. Certainly, I find there's a lot changing and happening in my life at the moment. If I'm thinking about the animal communication side of it, I'm feeling quite stuck at the moment. I did a course with Jacqueline last year, and I'm just feeling very stuck and not attuned, basically. So maybe that's part of that, just telling me that it's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes our judgment towards our current situation is the biggest block, you know. When we can surrender to, you know, become aware of that and surrender to that state of love again, it's like we, you know, it almost unblocks without us having to do anything. You know, it's not even our job anymore. It's like we're just getting out of the way, you know.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks, Ashley.
Christine, did you want to share yours?
Yeah. Before I jump in.
Yeah, look, we've just had 4 grandchildren, 2 adults and 2 dogs staying with us, so it was really just nice to be quiet and just sort of recenter myself again. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it was good.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I got a message. Trust yourself was the first one that came through, and then that expanded into believe, which changed into know, that you have gifts to share, which is very appropriate for me right now. And then I suddenly started to get this massive download of all these ideas for different things I can start to offer. I was like, whoa, I need to start writing that stuff down. But at the same time, you know, you're saying about where do you feel it? I think you asked Joy about how she feels it, and it feels like it's in my body.
Yeah.
So although I want to write it down, I don't need to rush to write it down, because the way I received it so fully in my body, it's there, if you like, you know. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And that's really important that it's embodied, because when it's embodied, it's like every cell in our body is transmitting and broadcasting that energetic frequency, you know, into the field of information, and whatever we broadcast subconsciously is going to, you know, return to us in like energy. Frequency attracts frequency every time. So very powerful. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder. It's a beautiful activity. I haven't done that one before. It's powerful, simple and powerful.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Yeah, great. So yeah, one of the things that Ben was speaking about then earlier on was to do with, you know, the different sort of states of consciousness that we find ourselves in at different points in our day and points in our life. And we generally do operate, as Ben said, in this sort of beta vibrational realm, what's named beta as a state of consciousness. There are numbers of different states of consciousness that we can be in at any different time. Delta, you may have heard of, relates to sleep. You know, it's quite a slow moving brain frequency when we're in delta mode. Gamma is kind of like high, you know, frequency insights. When we get flashes of insight, that's associated with gamma brain waves. And as Ben said, most of our day-to-day is operated in the range, within the range of the beta field, whether, you know, normal, busy, or, you know, slightly stressed and very stressed, you know, different ranges of that field. So when we're wanting to attune, when we're wanting to communicate with animals, when we're wanting to connect with our higher self, the ideal state of consciousness for us to be in is known as the alpha state of consciousness. And the alpha state is, if you can imagine, it's that boundary between wakefulness and light sleep. And you might experience it when you're meditating, for example. I don't know how many of you are regular meditators, but I know for myself, when I used to meditate regularly with groups of people, you know, in a meditation space, one of the phenomena was people who would sort of doze off during meditation, which is not surprising because that is the state of meditation. It is right on that boundary of wakefulness and sleep. So it can be quite easy to sometimes lose ourselves and tip more fully into the sleep state of consciousness. And some people looking like nodding dogs, you know, sort of like kind of like, oh, they jerk themselves awake, you know what I mean? You may have seen that. But what I want to do is take us into a meditation now that helps us to get into the alpha state of consciousness, which is this ideal state to be in, which is a very quiet, our energy waves, our brain waves are slowing down. They're much more relaxed. They're not as relaxed, as I said, as they might be if we were in light sleep. But they are relaxed enough for us to be an empty vessel that can receive the information that's coming in from other beings, and also a good space to connect with our own higher self. So this is another different access point into this process of attunement, if you like. So again, if you'd like to close your eyes or just soften your gaze, find yourself sitting comfortably. And begin by just following your breath for a while. You might find yourself into that beautiful breath meditation, reconnecting back to that quite quickly. Imagining drawing your breath down into your belly, following the breath as it travels from the top of your spine out through the top of your head, and drawing it all the way down through your spine, down to your coccyx. And then as you breathe out, traveling back up through the spine, out through the top of the head. And with each breath, as you draw in that life-giving oxygen, filling your belly, taking a slightly deeper breath each time. And now becoming aware of your feet, maybe feeling your feet connected with the ground, and with the earth beneath the building that you're in. And as you breathe in, imagine white light filling up through the soles of your feet, drawing that white light up into your body. And as you keep breathing, feeling that white light coming in more and more, filling up into your belly. Drawing it up into your chest. And up into your head. Every time you breathe, drawing in more of this white light and allowing this white light to relax you. You might experience this white light as an image. You might experience it as a sensation in your body. Continuing to draw in white light and relaxing as you do so. And in this space of being filled with white light, bring your attention to something that you'd like to set as an intention in your life. It might even be related to the message you had from your higher self a moment ago. But bring to mind an intention for yourself. Maybe just for today. Maybe an intention for your life going forward. And as this intention is bathed with this white light, imagining that this has already come to pass, that it's already happening. This is not just a wish for the future. This is something that is real and happening right now in your body. And I invite you to feel your gratitude for our body's capacity to connect with that higher part of ourselves, with the universal energy and wisdom that brings all things into being. Our capacity as humans to harness our imagination and bring it into reality. And I invite you to give thanks to your higher self for bringing you these messages, to this white light for anchoring the messages into your body, for your imagination to help set these intentions. And giving thanks to the universe that these things are true, are real. Are happening. And so when you feel ready, gradually bringing yourselves back to a more wakeful state, back to that beta state. Using our breath to bring you back to wakefulness. And when you feel ready, opening your eyes. So I'd love to hear if anybody had any further insight or any intention that showed up for you. And even if it's just an intention that just popped in out of nowhere, it's really good to speak our intentions out loud, because again, it just lets the universe know that this is what we're bringing in. This is what we're asking for.
I'm happy to share.
Thanks, Joy.
I've been full of cold and I had a bit of a coughing fit in the middle of it, so I sort of went in and out. But what was important for me is I was with trees again, and this is becoming increasingly important for me, is connecting with trees, and not just trees, with bits of ancient woodland. And I've had an intention for a while now to visit the ancient bits of woodland in Scotland, and I just feel drawn by the trees. I feel called by the trees and the woodland animals, and the animals that should be there, like the wolves and the lynx and the wild boar. But a specific intention that I've had for a while, and just came back to me again now, and just confirmed, was I wrote in my journal quite a while ago that I want to visit the trees in Scotland that remember wolves, and I want to sit with them and listen and write down what they tell me about wolves and when they used to be in the forests, because the trees miss them. The trees miss them. They're part of that environment, and they should be there. So that's what came back quite strongly again.
Wow, that's powerful image. I can really relate to that. It's so evocative, and it feels like an incredibly powerful practice to do, Joy. That feels like it feels like that's something bigger than you, you know. You know what I mean? It's like you're doing this for some bigger purpose. And you're right, the trees do miss the wolves, and they remember the wolves, don't they? So,
they do. And I feel like in the time I've got left, I want to do what I can to support those people and who are trying to bring back missing species, particularly lynx and wolves and beavers and whoever. But I really want to try. I want to do what I can to support those, and partly through my writing, I think, as well.
Yeah. I see a book in the
well,
in the
stories
future.
maybe. I don't think I've got a book in me, but stories anyway.
Beautiful. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that. Did anybody else connect with an intention during that activity?
Mine was like really simple. It just let love in.
Wow. Yeah, simple and short, but incredibly powerful. And I mean, that's one of the most powerful practices we can engage with, isn't it? Kind of like what life is all about. Well, it is what life is all about, isn't it? So, well, thank you. Yeah, Christine, did you?
Yeah, mine is just stay connected with my grandchildren. Yeah. And the what Joya was saying, the world, I feel that the kids don't have enough to do with nature and learning and things like that. Not my grandchildren in particular, but children in general. And yeah, we'll do something about it.
I've noticed that's coming up in conversation a lot at the moment, for me anyway, in my experience, and I don't know how you're experiencing that, but that thing about children needing to connect with nature and the importance of it. And also the other piece you're talking about, your grandchildren, there is about elders and young ones. You know, that's really important, that generation, that those two generations get together, and they're not getting together as much as they used to because of changes in the way our society, you know, is structured and so on. And it's so important that the elders and the young ones get together more often. So yeah, thanks, Christine. Ashley, did you have anything? You don't need to. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I need to unmute you again. Here we go. Let's try that. There we are.
Yeah, mine was I think quite simple. So it was sort of linked to that being surrounded in love, and then it brought it back to me with the self-love, and that will help me in terms of not just animal communication, but if I choose to work with animals in different ways, that will help me. So it was just linked to that, really.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and I think when we learn to love ourselves, we're kind of modeling that also then for the animals, aren't they? The animals can tell, because once we learn to love ourselves, we're really being fully authentic.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to, I don't know, when we don't love ourselves very much, we're always trying to compensate for who we feel we should be, and we're not being. Do you know what I mean? So yeah,
exactly.
and the animals get all of that, don't they? So yeah, that's really another very powerful intention. Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, so with this activity, you know, I invited you to connect with an intention that may be related to the statement that came up with the exercise you did with Ben. But when we're using it with animal communication, we can use it to we can get into that alpha state and then set an intention to clearly communicate with the animals. So it's very supportive in that sense as well. You know, and intentions, the power of intention, you know, it tells our subconscious what's going to happen, and our subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's actually happening and what we imagine is happening. So the more we engage in that sort of positive self-talk, positive imagination of what's happening and what's going to happen, then those things do come about. It sounds like magic, and it is magical. Yeah, Ben, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, so when I connected, I had a vision of, I've had this vision, it come up for me in meditations for a lot of years now, as of creating a retreat center, basically where, I just have, basically work to run do all the work that I'd love to do, and have all the people, the facilitators and there that I'd love to have to facilitate this work. And it's a vision that I've had, that I've gotten in some deep meditations that I've had at times. And the first time I had it, I was very young and didn't really fully understand it back then. And but now I can just, it just keeps reoccurring. But it just came up for me again in this. And I guess for me, it's just this message around the power of, of creating like a bigger movement, around what you do on impact, and not being afraid of that bigger impact and that bigger vision, because I think it's very needed this day and age to have a space where you can be, appreciated and honored and valued for being you, and a place that supports and nurtures self-love and healing and all these powerful principles and practices that we're learning. Because I think, we get so disconnected from ourselves and from the world, and we just forget, I think we have spiritual amnesia. We forget who we are deep down, and then we forget that we forgot. And so, for me, I think creating a center is about giving people a powerful place to remember, and an amazing support network for them to just to really, for that to become their way of being, for them to live that way and to feel like they can immerse themselves in that, and it can become who they are instead of just some temporary thing that they dip their toe in, if that makes sense. So that's what came through for me. And yeah, just I guess I always get this vision of being in a big hall or some area with, and there's all these like people in the audience, and there's this deep sense of love and kind of connection to, that we all kind of the same sort of knowing of gratitude for this opportunity to connect. And I guess it has something to do with the center that I'm going to create, but I don't know exactly what that is yet. But that's what came through for me.
Yeah, that's a great vision, Ben. Yeah, there's the power of kind of bringing people together. I think, online connecting like this is powerful too, and there's also something about getting together physically that has another layer to it. And I personally experience that when people come together, it becomes that sort of sense of those greater than the sum of its parts. And it's not just the retreat leaders that are bringing that learning, it's everybody that's there, and everybody that's participating is adding to that experience and increasing its capacity for sharing. So yeah, absolutely.
And I think what do they call it in biology when when emergence, when animals like a flock of birds, it's not like one's leading, it's like they're all
the murmuration
up orientation, and they're all synchronous, they're all one mind, synchronously having this
happens. And I think the other thing also is, and it's kind of touching a little bit on what Ashleen was talking about too, is offering a space, especially with this sort of work. It's not mainstream, let's face it, and I think that spiritual connection is getting lost more and more in society, as is the connection with nature that Christine mentioned about. And so there's that sense of, when we can come together with like-minded people as well, it reminds us, yes, of course. And, I'm not the only one. And there are others that are in this, that see this as well, and see this truth and understand how important this is. So that, is very encouraging. And I think for me, certainly recharges my batteries to a large degree. And I've had this experience with my practice groups, my online practice groups as well, where people will say, oh, it's so nice to have a place where I can talk about this stuff and people don't think I'm, I've lost my marbles or something, or there's something a bit weird about me, because we know it's not weird. It may not be mainstream, but we also know it's very true. So it's so important to have a place where we can come, and there's other people, who get that and can validate us, and we can really immerse ourselves and go deeper with our own learning.
Absolutely. And even feeling safe in that, I think, is a big barrier for a lot of people, because of so much of the judgment and shame and trauma around, those things, and connecting deeply. It's it's even, feeling safe to go there, I think, is a huge, thing for a lot of people to overcome. And I think, we have to get to a point where it's not even just feeling safe. It's like we just get to a point where we realize just how powerful we are, how much potential we have. And, we're spiritual beings having a spiritual experience, not human beings having a physical experience. You know what I mean? So that's, flipping it on its head, I guess, in a sense, which is, in essence, who we are. When we take away all those masks and personas and all the fears, and all that's left is love, and that's our truth ultimately. Right.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got about 5 minutes left. I think we started at 10:02, so we've got about 5 minutes left. I just wanted to touch on briefly, about the things we have got coming up. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we've got this retreat happening at the end of October, which is in the Coffs Harbour area. Sorry, Joy, other side of the planet for you. Anne's coming already. and then we've also got a 3-day weekend following on from that one, the first full weekend of November, which I think is 7, 8, 9. And
Yep.
so, yeah, both of those are opportunities to do exactly what we were talking about, come together with like-minded people, whether you've done this work before or not. It's always good to reconnect. If you haven't done it before, you can learn it. And both, the intention of both is not only to give you a chance to remember or reconnect with the skills, but also to connect with a group of like-minded people, because it's just so incredibly powerful to be in that space, and to, you know, helps to reaffirm, as I said, what we know to be true and what we suspect we can do, and we realize that yes, we are doing this, and it's actually quite a natural thing. So yeah, please check out those. I think they're both on my website and Ben's website. And practice groups, you know, if anyone has done animal communication, that's a really great place. If you're feeling a bit rusty with your practice, Ashleen, you just mentioned that, you know, you're feeling a bit disconnected from your animal communication work, so that's a great place to kind of get your grease your wheels again, as it were.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to add there, Ben?
No, that's yeah, it's, you know, I guess it's every time you make that commitment, you know, to do, you know, to go out of our comfort zone and to, you know, commit to going to a workshop or a retreat, and, you know, really immersing ourselves in that deeper learning. It's an act of self-love in many ways, because it's really nurturing that deeper part of our soul. And I think that's such an important thing to do, you know, in whatever form you do it, whether it's retreats or going to workshop or just creating that space. And I guess what I want to do to talk about, basically following on what we just did with the meditations, is the importance of having a daily ritual, a daily practice where you connect to yourself, your higher self, animals, whatever your way of connecting is, whether it be, you know, going for a meditative walk, or whether it's connecting in a loving way, meaningful, you know, way, and presencing and loving, expressing love to somebody. You know, that they're all very powerful practices, whether it's meditation, whether it's whatever form it is, you know, whatever doorway you're accessing your higher self and that connection to your spiritual essence, you know, and awakening those spiritual senses, whatever way you do it, doesn't matter. It's just having some form of daily ritual that you commit to. And again, I find that to be, personally in my own experience, to be an act of self-love. That the more that we allow ourselves to have that day in, day out, we allocate that time, it's non-negotiable, the more powerfully that energy becomes alive in us, because it's not just something that we're talking about, it's something that we're embodying and that we're living. You know, it's a lived experience, and that becomes, you know, more real and more powerful. And also the subconscious pattern of that amplifies its power. You know, as the more you do something, the more that brain body pathway gets stronger, and the more natural and spontaneous it is for you to go into that altered state of connection and love and gratitude, which opens a lot of doors energetically in your life to creating new potentials in your life, and then healing the body, healing, you know, emotional wounds from the past, whatever it is, trauma. There's so much, we have so much power within us to be able to do that. And a lot of that, I think, comes down to our daily, you know, rituals, and whether we make a practice of, you know, self-love through these daily rituals, if that makes sense. And I think oftentimes it's not seen as an act of self-love. People often will see it as being selfish, but the ultimate truth is, you know, that putting yourself first isn't selfish, and putting this time aside isn't selfish. It's an act of self-love. You're nurturing that deeper part of yourself. And I find that when you nurture that part of yourself, your cup is so full with love that it overflows, you know, and so many other people benefit from that love overflowing onto them, if that makes sense. So yeah, having that daily practice. And I guess, you know, the retreat and the 3-day workshop is really, you know, just a way to immerse yourself in that, and to see the value of those daily practices, and the compounding effect that can have.
Yeah, yeah, and there's something I want to pick up on what you're saying there about the self-love thing. You know, it's also the more we engage with these practices on a daily basis, just within our own life, the more, as you say, that does spill out. Not only because our feelings of love are overflowing, but also because, you know, we're more embodied with these practices, and so we can then offer it. You know, especially with the animal communication work. You know, we're offering that then out into the world. You know what I mean? It's so important. The more people that are communicating with the animals, that are listening to them, that are understanding them, that are understanding all of life, you know, trees, plants, you know, all of it. You know, we all know the world's in a pretty pitiful state right now because of what we're unfortunately doing to it. So it needs more and more and more of us to be really deeply connected with it in this way. So so we're also offering a service, if you like. The more we improve our own abilities, we're offering that service out into the world too. So
Yeah.
and I'd love to see a world where, you know, everybody is just, of course trees are talking, of course animals are talking, and this is what they're saying. You know, wouldn't that be a different world to be living in? Certainly one that wouldn't be mining and chopping down trees and all the rest of it. It'd be a very different place. So,
Absolutely. It's all consciousness, isn't it? It's all part of the ocean in the drop, or the drop in the ocean, as they say. Yeah.
So thank you, everybody. Really lovely to have you here, and thank you so much for your engagement with the process, and enjoyed all of your presence. Yeah, we'll send out emails with the links. I'm kind of feeling inspired also to send out some extra information there about different ways that you could bring in daily practices that would support you with this attunement and presence process. And yeah, I'll see some of you online soon, see some of you in person soon. Yeah, if you're watching this as a recording, hopefully see you soon as well. Thank you.
Thanks,
you, Ben.
everyone. Thank you, everyone, for your loving presence. Appreciate having you all here, and look forward to hopefully seeing you again soon. Another webinar or course, or who knows. Thank you very much.